Good evening, welcome. If you have a mobile phone, if you'd like to put it on silent, please, thank you. Right, tonight we have with us Michael Wadada and friends. A special event needing a special introduction, so we think it fitting that these professional, unique and enduring musicians be introduced by a music industry professional in the form of Steve Barker. Steve is currently host of On The Wire on Radio Lancashire on Saturday nights at midnight. A show playing alternative music for an amazing 31 years, the longest running show of its kind in the UK. Bands appearing on the show in their formative years, enjoying early exposure, include U2, REM, The Smiths, Depeche Mode and Joy Division. Prior to this, Steve was a journalist interviewing, amongst others, Jimi Hendrix and Yoko Ono in 1 week. So I'd like to hand you now to Steve Barker. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't actually often get introduced, let alone get such a good introduction. I feel I've got quite affinity with my old friend Michael Wadada, Michael Ward, because we both really. It was mentioned that I was a DJ on Radio Lancashire, presenter at Radio Lancashire, and Michael's been on the programme many, many times. But we both, after many, many years, we both remain solidly underground, I think. Despite our best attempts over 30 years and more, we remain an acquired taste. I've known Michael since the 70s, actually. And when I think his first album was partly produced by a good friend of mine and a good friend of Michael's, Adrian Sherwood, and we remain friends to this day. And Michael is such an unusual person, unusual musician, and there's not many around where you can actually go back to like 1979. You go listen to the music from like 1979 when the album was produced, and listen to like what was on Radio 1 and Radio 2 or whatever it was at the time, and it's dated. If you listen to Suns of Arqa, Return of the Mosavites, then it's not dated. It sounds as fresh now as it did in 1979. And one thing you'll find about Michael's music, if you dip into any of his many albums over the years, they are timeless and they are unique. And I'm very proud to have been associated with Michael over the years and call him a friend. The other thing about Michael, lots of you people get plaudits, but he very rarely gets a true plaudit. Being one of the first musicians, not just in the UK but in the world, to actually deal with fusion music. Generally fusion music is thought about jazz, but Michael took fusion into world fusion, and that was a path that many others have followed, and very few have actually traced it back to one of the few originators. Also, you've got to give a big shout out to somebody who's worked with as many people as he has. I think I've heard he mentions he's collaborated with over 200 people. I think it's probably a lot more than that. But out of those 200, anybody who's collaborated with both John Cooper Clarke and Professor Stanley Unwin is all right in my book, you know. So Michael's going to be playing later, and I'm with a kind of a group of musicians, which I'm proud to say includes my son Max on bass, who Michael occasionally calls on. So that's another reason why we've got a connect. And I'll be looking forward to hearing him like I've done many times before. I know you've seen Michael's been a regular visitor to this event in St Anne's, both when he lived in St Anne's and also a regular visitor from far off climes, like up in the north of Scotland as well. I think he might have come down for a bit of sunshine today. And I'm sure I can say on behalf of us all, he's always welcome, and we're always pleased to see him. Now, he's not going to talk now, but we're going to have there's going to be some music following the talk. So, and the talk is on Kali Yuga, which I'm going to look forward to immensely. So thanks everybody. I can say I'll be popping out later in the evening, and I will have some posters for the show, which are for my show, which you're welcome to take, because they're archive posters. They've been around for many years, but I have a few stashed away, and I think it might be you might find them interesting. So I'll leave those back. Thank you very much for listening, and cheers.
Well, I mean, I felt like I was sitting at my own funeral there. So there he is. He's about to go through into the void. But I mean, what can I say after that? Apart from, like he was saying, I used to come here quite a lot when I lived in St Anne's, but now I live in Scotland. So I just emailed Rob and said, "We'll come and do." Well, I thought a talk, but you know what emails are like, and he thought it was, I'm going to bring 12-piece Suns of Arqa live band. So anyway, we're going to do a bit of each. So Jeff White, who's sitting there, is going to, I phoned him up and said, we're going to do a talk, and I want to talk about the Kali Yuga. And he said, oh, I'm just writing a book about that. Just, you know, spontaneity, synchronicity. So I said, well, that will save me a lot of trouble, because you can talk about it and I'll sit and listen. So Jeff's going to do that, and then after the break we're going to have Jeff's our guitar player, by the way, but today we're going to hire an amateur guitar player, which is me, because he's going to play the drums, and Steve said Max is going to play bass, and my lovely wife Angela is going to sing with us. But on a serious note, in the thing it said I was going to talk about my career, well, I think enough's been said about that by Steve, and anything else can be found on the internet, but I find it's a very serious time at the moment. And it's, you know, the music business is, there's a lot of people in there that really don't know what's happening. The people, a few people that do, are not getting a voice. For instance, we have not had a gig in England or Scotland. No, we played a couple of times Scotland, but in England for what, 2 years is it now? Getting on. Yeah, we played Hungary a few times, but there's something going on in this country, and I'm sure most of the people in here know what I'm talking about. But what we want to talk about, because from the offset I wanted to bring Indian classical music, because to me that is a very way to escape the dark times that are upon most of us, and this can take you into another dimension. And the Vedic writings talk about all this, especially this time, which is the Kali Yuga time. And well, we haven't got that much time, so I'm going to introduce Jeff White. Thank you.
How you doing? All right? Sound. Right then. Kali Yuga time. Okay. My talk, because it's like saying, give a talk about Kali Yuga, it's a bit like saying, explain everything that's happened in the last 10,000 years in an hour. You see, so what I'm going to do, rather than just concentrating on Kali Yuga itself, because it won't have much context otherwise, I'm just going to give you a massive whistle-stop tour of everything Vedic as to qualify why we should take the Vedas seriously, and also as to what Kali Yuga is, how it affects us, and in a sense what we can do about ourselves more than it, you see. So there you go. Perspective. Yeah, lotus flowers. We often see lotus flowers, you know, you see like the Hindu gods and so on, they're always sat on a flower, yeah. The flower simply symbolises that you're sat in this reality, but you're not of it or on it like the water, you know, it doesn't sink into the water. You see, it's the idea of transcendental, how you can be in something yet not of it simultaneously. You know, other religions reflect it, Father, Son, Holy Ghost and whatnot and whatnot. Also, I'm not affiliated with any of the religious organisations which preach, you know, religion based upon Vedic culture. There's reasons for that. It's a separate talk in itself. I might give you a little shred of light if I get to it at the end, but that's the reason I'm still alive now. So I'm not going to go on about myself as such. So yeah, I'm not very PC either. I just say what I think, and I don't mean to offend anybody or anything like that. I just say what I want, and if you don't like it, tough. So there you go. Apocalyptimist, yeah? You can see what that says. And that's exactly what Kali Yuga is, yeah? Because you're all doomed. Everybody is doomed. I mean, these bodies don't last forever, Kali Yuga or not. We're all, you know, we know exactly what's coming around the corner. That's not a matter of belief, it's just how our reality functions, yeah? However, once upon a time, in another dimension, we were all anarchists, yeah? And that doesn't mean that we went around burning shops. I mean, that's actually the coppers dressed up as people pretending to be. But anarchy, yeah? It's the actual part of the original nature of the soul, in the sense that we don't need any rules, we don't need any real masters or regulations in this sense. However, anarchy, you know, people propose it in our world now, and it's a great idea. However, for anarchy to work, everybody needs to actually be in a state of enlightenment, yeah, and that's just not going to happen right now. It might happen for a few small collectives, but even within them, they're not truly enlightened. The nature of our reality is to be enlightened, and in that perfect dimension, it does work, you see. Vedic past, yeah, the Vedas are like really old, yeah, Vedic India. I'm sorry, I've not produced it in Blu-ray or anything, but you can get me gist. Picture of ancient India, that's pre-Islam, yeah, when they had a big massive country. The Vedic literatures themselves are huge. I mean, they're really huge. A large proportion of them have been translated. There's a huge amount yet that hasn't been translated. It's the oldest surviving and most complete literature in the entire world. There may have been others, but again, thanks to people like Islam and zealous Christians, they burned the bloody lot a long time ago, so this is all we've got left. Simple as that. And it is an instruction book left by cleverer people than us as to how things really are and what we're supposed to do about it. Vedic culture, you know, we've all seen the big fancy temples and all that. That's how they all ended. Like a bit like Atlantis, all these things all merged together. You had a society that had its own specific culture and design spread throughout the world. They're all connected. As you can see, you know, you've had many talks on all this, the Mayan pyramids and the Egyptian pyramids, and you know all about that. But they were well and truly destroyed a long time ago, and there's still bits of them left. The Brahmastra was one of the main things which destroyed that at the fall of man, or whatever you want to call it. The Brahmastra, that's the modern day equivalent. It's called Brahmos. It's a big, massive, very dangerous missile that they might use to emulate the same effect. But basically, the Brahmastra, the original Brahmastra, wasn't done using technology as such. It was done using sound vibration that people could emanate from themselves, or possibly from big seashells and so on. And and off it goes, lands in the floor, and you end up with one of them. I'm not saying that nukes exist. Maybe not. There's a good chance that they don't. Look at it yourself. That is what's left of most of Vedic culture now. That's what it looks like. There's huge amounts of Vedic culture left hidden under the sea. Will they let us go and check it out? No, but it's there.
Yeah, so after following on from that talk, it's all right.
Is that okay?
Yeah. Jeff talked about the sound and the Raga system, the scale system. So we're going to demonstrate one of the scales with this one particular one. It's called Bhairavi. and it was a bit of a kind of one that they said was the lord of all ragas, meaning you can do anything with this one. But traditionally it's played at the end of a performance, so obviously I'm going to play it at the beginning. And then we're just going to fuse it up a little. Okay, thank you.